How's it going, guys? Welcome to Audio Addiction. We have Coe Hill with us tonight. He can say his name and what he does in the band.
Hey, I'm Doug Heiser, and I pretty much am the band Cohill.
Awesome. Well, again, we talked about it a little bit off camera beforehand, but I want to give a shout out to Mike of the Northern. That's actually how I found out about your band. Shout outs to your press agent too. She sent me over the email, but then before that, I had checked out the song. And shouts to Mike of the Northern. Love that dude so much. And he was like,
Dope.
yo,
Thank you, Mike.
He's like, get this man on here. And I was like, you got it. I got it. So, Mike,
awesome. I'm going to message him after this.
But the first thing, Doug, I'm sure you get asked this a bunch. How did you start out Cohill? We kind of talked a little bit about like your, past and that stuff beforehand, but like what really got you into music and like enough to like start your own band and do this stuff? Did you have a band before this, or just give me the Cohill, origin story?
For sure. There's a few different questions layered into there. So I'll kind of start with what is Cohill. And so Cohill, and I think I teed it off in the intro. So it's really a collaborative project I started during the whole COVID quarantine cycle, when everything locked down. I've always been into music. I've had some small bands prior to this, but when we got locked down, we didn't know what was going on, didn't know how the things would spread. So couldn't really see my old bandmates, and I just got into like a writing mode and said, well, I need to elevate my hobbies because there's less to do. So I'm going to elevate my music, get more involved in it. And I just started writing songs. The first one I wrote was actually called like Quarantine Chronicles. I always kind of do like the file names based on kind of what I'm doing that day, or whether I'm watching something or there's something significant going on. So my first song project title was Quarantine Chronicles, and that was the first one I wrote when we got locked down. And I initially didn't really have plans to do anything with them. But as they started going, I started to really enjoy them, really like how they turned out. And I was like, you know what, I really want to do something with this music. I want to find a way to release it. But obviously it's going to be really tough with people locked down. It's going to be tough to find band members, given most vocalists are in bands, most drummers are in bands.
You're right.
And especially with like bands shut down, people like are trying to focusing on their bands, like how do I keep them going? So I really thought of, okay, well, what if I made it like a collaborative project? Like what if I did something a little different, and the real focus is having a different singer on each track. So I'm kind of the consistent member. I wrote the songs, had some obviously songwriting help with the producer I worked with, and then I got a buddy, Terrence Pettit, to drum on them, and then the producer laid the bass tracks, and then just started doing some research through Spotify, some like searches, and trying to find vocalists that were of decent sized bands that I thought would be cool on each track. And so the first song that's out is called Deadweight, and that song features a guy, his name's Hayden Troby, and he's in a band called Tiger Wine, which is kind of like a post-hardcore band out of Colorado, Denver, I think specifically. I could be wrong on that one. And so, he's the first one that's announced, the first song that's out. All the others are kind of TBA. All the songs are recorded and tracked. They're just getting mixed now, but kind of the hype is to announce as in the different stages. So Hayden's the only one I can reveal right now, but there's some cool names in the projects to be announced. So I'm pretty excited to see people's responses to, because obviously each song, they all kind of stem from the post-hardcore realm, but obviously with different singers, different influences, different vibes influencing the track, they start to lean a little different each way. But it's pretty cohesive at the end.
I felt like the stuff when I was listening to it, like the one with Hayden on it, which shout outs to Tiger Wine, they're fantastic. Go check them out if you haven't. They're great.
Yeah, please do.
Fantastic.
Hmm.
So that initially brought me in because I've been a big Tiger Wine fan for a hot minute, and so like for me, I was just like, it's cool to hear him on something that like is like familiar but also isn't familiar at the same time, and so it was cool to hear him in not Tiger Wine. It was cool to just hear him as like doing his own thing on, you know, obviously your track with Cohill, and it just kind of blew me away. And when you were saying like, oh, it's a collaborative process, like I'm excited to see who you are going to announce next. Like, you know, do you feel like the up and coming, I know you don't have to tell me on who's going to be on it, obviously, because I don't want you to get in trouble, but like, are they all kind of within like the post-hardcore realm, or did you try to do other ones that people, I guess, wouldn't necessarily think like, oh, okay, like this would work or something like that? Like, because I feel like Hayden's very like on the note, like, okay, I get it, like you're a post-hardcore band, Hayden is a great fit. But I'm curious if you're gonna try to like go out and do different things, have different people on.
Yeah. So there's obviously, so Hayden's probably the most true post-hardcore person on it.
Okay, very cool.
The thing that I've always found with like post-hardcore, it kind of leans in a few different ways. Like depending on the style of post-hardcore, it can almost be a little bit metalcore-y at times.
I agree. Yep.
And then other times it can also lean a bit more like pop punk, emo pop punk. So each like the other vocalists are, some are in metalcore bands, but they kind of lean into that more like Silversteiny post-hardcore metalcore type style. Cool. And that's more so what the next single will be like. It's kind of, the best way to describe it is Silverstein meets Under Oath meets like Thousands Below. That's how I'd kind of like sum it up for a listener. And then there's a few tracks that are a bit more like picky, like emo pop punky. And for those ones, I picked up some more like pop punk singers that kind of like lean into more of their emo roots. And I think you kind of said it with the Hayden track, the way you described it. It's like, it's kind of like Tiger Wine, but it's also not like Tiger Wine. Like it's adjacent enough. And I found that for every singer, it's like, it could be one of their songs if they chose to go in a different direction a little bit. So, but it's also unfamiliar enough that it's not like, well, why didn't they just release that as their own song and him sell the track to him? So it's kind of cool in that way.
Yeah, I feel like it kind of like is kind of, I hate using the analogy, but it's kind of like a Venn diagram. Like if Cohill is here, Tiger Wine's here. It's like the baby of like the two. And I love that. Like I feel like it can hold its own, as you mentioned. Like it's very much like a Cohill track, but like I would totally recommend it to people who love Tiger Wine, because I feel like it does have that kind of like branching quality. And so like again, I'm curious to see how the other vocalists fit. I think you definitely got me hyped for the rest of it, and so like especially like the pop punk, I'm very curious on like how far out they kind of go, and like if there's like some, as you mentioned, like the next track is like more Thousand Below-y, like Under Oath-y. I'm curious if there's gonna be like some screaming, you know, a little bit of screaming in there. It's gonna be sick.
Yeah, this is probably, would I say, the cleanest track?
Okay.
Yeah, this might be the cleanest track. Like nothing is pure like aggressive vocals like front to back.
Yeah.
But I went a little like old school with it, where it's like some of the tracks are classic cleans through the verse, chorus, but then you get to the bridge and then that gets aggressive.
Yeah.
And then, or there's some aggressive layers as doubles or ad libs throughout a chorus or something. I kind of went into like some old school roots with that vibe. So yeah, definitely some aggressives coming up.
All right, guys. Well, if I haven't hyped it up enough for you already, you can check out the latest single with Hayden of Tiger Wine. I'll leave it in the description. Who knows? Maybe by the time this comes out in like early June, maybe the other single will be out, and then I'll leave that in the description too. Both of them are going to be, if there's another single, I'll drop two. If there's one, there's just going to be one. But the next thing, Doug, I'm curious who you're influenced by, who kind of got you started playing music, and kind of who influences Cohill now more currently.
Yeah, so the influences, like, to start me off in guitar, kind of a bit more mainstream, a bit more cliche, but like I was a huge Red Hot Chili Peppers fan.
Sick.
Like in middle school. I loved the stuff like the whole Californication album. And I think it was wanting to learn how to play Californication that really made me want to get a guitar. And so it really started with Red Hot Chili Peppers songs. And I think I learned most of that album before I learned anything else. And then from Red Hot Chili Peppers, I started to move into high school into more of that like butt rocky type stuff, active rock, I guess the more professional term. But I started to get super into Linkin Park, super into Breaking Benjamin, 3 Days Grace, Chevelle. Like
Yeah.
that was my jam in high school. And then as I got into out of high school and into university, it became more. I started getting more into pop punk, post-hardcore, metalcore, like We Came as Romans, Devil Wears
Oh,
Prada type
yeah.
stuff. And that, so I started to explore more to like the heavy music, depending on if people watching consider that heavy. I know everyone's got different definitions and might laugh at me if like calling that heavy, but at the time I was like, yeah, that's cool. The combinations of cleans and aggressives is I think what made the transition easy from like a Breaking Benjamin to get into like an Asking Alexandria, Devil Wears Prada.
Hmm.
And then now, it's a whole mixed bag right now. Like pretty much anything what I'll call like Warped Tour style music is still. I'm very eclectic in that way. So I love like pop punk, like Seaway, like Pacific, and then I love traditional post-hardcore, Silverstein from First to Last, and then I love kind of like the rise core metalcore bands, as I mentioned before, Devil Wears Prada, Asking Alexandria, We Came as Romans, and then kind of everything in between. So a really wide taste.
Yeah, I feel like you kind of like, because I'm a guitar player myself, so like
Okay, nice.
when I was listening to your stuff, I was like, yeah, this feels like quintessential. Like if they had like a quintessential like post-hardcore playlist, like you definitely took like some stuff from like Silverstein, you took stuff from like From First to Last, you took some stuff from like Prada, you took some stuff from like We Came as Romans, like anything from like metalcore adjacent stuff to like emo kind of like
Hmm.
rock sort of stuff. Like it was everything in between. I did definitely hear like I know you mentioned dad rock. I don't consider like, I feel like people are gonna say like, oh, they're like butt rock or dad rock, as you mentioned, like Linkin Park
Hmm.
and like Breaking Benjamin and 3 Days Grace and all that sort of stuff. Listen, I love that stuff. I will never
I still
consider
do too.
them.
Yeah.
I will not never consider them dad rock or butt rock. Probably dad rock when I'm like in my 50s, and like that's what I'll be listening to. But like, yeah, that's stuff that I grew up with, and I could definitely hear like that sort of nostalgic like roots. Like Under Oath is another one too. Like I feel like you borrow a lot from like that early to like mid 2010s like post hardcore metalcore stuff, and that like struck me. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. With this project, I definitely try to tap into more, some more of that old school post-hardcore. And part of that's I'm finding, and I'm sure you would agree, that there's almost a resurgence in that old school
Mm-hmm.
sounds. Like with bands like See You Space Cowboy, If I Die
Yeah.
First, Static Dress, like those old school like vibes of like those panic chords, those
Oh yeah.
breakdowns that change 5 times. And so I was like, you know what, I love this music. Like I think now is like it kind of makes a lot of sense to have like an old school vibe that I love and actually
Mm-hmm.
write that style music right now, because there's definitely like there's a whole resurgence of that stuff right now. And I think like there's a good market that could really latch on to something that's a bit more of like that chordal type stuff. Like Under Oath was very chordal based and
Yeah.
like in their stuff, but also a little riffy as well. So definitely try to lean in there. And then the producer I worked with, this guy Kyle Marchant, he really helped kind of helped add a bit more of a modern flair to it, which
Yeah,
I
sure.
thought was
Yeah.
really good. Kind of just modernize some of my ideas a bit, because he came in and it's like, you know what, that's just really dated what you're trying to do there. Like I think we should, I get it's like popping right now, but like who knows, in 3 years like it could date your stuff really quick. So he was really kind of like quintessential and like helping modernize some of my old school vibes and ideas I was trying to incorporate, which was really key, I found.
No, I think that's great. Like I think it's good when a producer is like so like methodical about like what they're producing and stuff, and like they also have to think like, is this going to sound old like comparatively to like what I'm like producing and like what I'm making. And so I'm
Yeah.
glad that he's thinking like future tense, like this stuff needs to be like a classic. And I feel like I think you guys definitely hit that stride of like, it has this nostalgia feel, but it doesn't feel like it's like stuck in that age. You know, still has a fresh sound, and
Hmm.
it still has
Thank you.
like a lot
Yeah.
of potential. So good job on you and your producer, Doug.
glad
but
it's glad it came across that way.
but the next question is, who have you been jamming recently? What's on your day to day? What do you listen to on a regular?
You know, I kind of labeled some of them earlier. Like the band I've probably, or like the newest band I've been spinning a lot is If I Die First. Like
Yeah.
when that band came out with where Needle, I'm so bad with like those when those song names are so
I know
long.
what you're talking about though. Yeah.
Where Needles and Lovers Collide. I think like when I first heard that, I was like, oh my god, what is this? And like I've pumped that EP so hard,
Yeah.
like nonstop since that came out. I think in the summer, and they just dropped that collab single with See You Space Cowboy,
Yeah,
which
that
is
was
absolutely
fantastic.
filthy. And then they dropped a single last Tuesday or something, or Thursday or something. I can't remember exactly when, but that song is super sick. So I've really been into that band lately. You know what? Yeah, it's hard to say. Like so many things. Like I always look forward to the Friday and open my release radar on Spotify first thing every morning. I'm like, what came out today? Like, what albums do I get to digest? The new Holding Absence was super sick.
Oh, so good.
While She Sleeps, that band
That was
I'm
great,
super
too.
into. I really like what they've done. That last album they came out with last week is super sick front to back. So yeah, just always on the lookout, always excited to hear the latest release from any bands.
Yeah, no, the new While She Sleeps, I listened to that a couple times through. Really great, like metalcore. Like I think they're on the top of their game. Like last year, the last record before this one, before Sleep Society, that was great too. Like I think that I think it's called So What, if I'm not mistaken. But
That was the album before, yeah.
correct, yeah.
Yeah.
Like that one was fantastic too, and I know I did a review of that one, and like they're just a band that I think like is just gonna massively blow up. Like if they haven't already, like I feel like they're definitely gonna get new fans, and I would agree with the new Holding Absence. That's like taken top slot in what I've listened to recently. So I've been jamming that record nonstop. It's so good.
Yeah, lots of good stuff came out recently. So I think this is going to be a big year for like music. I think a lot of people either held off last year and
Yeah.
there's going full guns, or people use the lockdown to write. So I think it's going to be a big year for releases.
Yeah, and that new Silverstein track, Bankrupt, that's also fantastic too. Like like you said, there's just gonna be some like great music for the rest of this year and probably well into 2021.
Trash Boat too. Sorry to cut you off.
Trash
Trash
Boat.
Boat one. I'm sure you like too. Like I know they're probably polarizing the pop punk fan base a little bit, but I think what they're doing is pretty sick. It's pretty original, and obviously they're making that direction change for a reason. But I really like both of those last singles, and they slap and they're hard.
Yeah, big Trash Boat fan here too. I like how they like mix that like aggression of pop punk and just like fun shit with like just like hardcore. I feel like they kind of have that like perfect marriage of the two, and I just love it. It's great. They're fantastic.
Yeah, they're sick.
But next question, Doug, a fun one. If you could pick a song to cover, what would it be?
If I could pick a song to cover, oh man, that's a toughie. Like you're talking like a pop goes punk type one.
Yeah, or whatever one you're feeling. Like if you feel like you could take if you feel like you could take a pop track and just put a good spin on it, or whatever you're feeling.
Man, there is a sick one that I heard recently. That Miley Cyrus Plastic Hearts one.
Oh, okay.
I think like you could do a pretty sick rendition of that one. Throw some distortion on that type of track. Hit some bouncy type riffs, and I think that melody would go sick on like a pop goes punk style rendition. So I'd have to go with that one. That one slaps hard.
There we go. Feeling that. But if you have any suggestions for Cohill, drop them in the comments. Who knows? Maybe we'll wind up seeing another cover song from Doug here. Awesome. Next question, Doug. Favorite food to eat? What's your go-to?
Favorite food, from a meal perspective, I'm definitely a big burger guy. It's that's one of my favorite meals at the end of a long work week. That Friday Uber Eats order, 9 times out of 10 is going to be a burger spot. It's just a good comfort meal at the end of the day or end of a bad week, and it just fills you right up. You get those carbs, it fuels you, makes you feel better.
You have any cool spots
with
in
fries,
Toronto?
With fries.
Oh, you gotta get fries. Any cool spots in
fries with it.
Any cool spots in Toronto?
Yeah, the spot by me that we get a lot lately is a spot called Woody's in Etobicoke. So I'm sure all the people in the West End know that spot. It tastes really good, but even better, being in like a real delivery era right now, it travels really well. I don't know what they do differently versus other spots, but when it shows up, it's piping hot when you bite into it versus like other spots around me. It comes, it's cold, and I'm like, man, it just tastes like raw ground beef right now. But they've figured out the technology to get it shipped right with those Uber drivers.
There we go. That's awesome. Next time I go to Toronto, I'll have to come out and get some sick burgers. I went a couple years ago and I had to get poutine because I feel like that's like, you know, when you're in Canada, it's quintessential. You gotta get it. So I'll have to find a good burger spot. I'll have to go to that burger spot next time up.
Highly recommend it. Yeah, can't go wrong with it.
Next question, Doug. If you were to pick somebody to collaborate with, which is ironic because your whole record coming up is a collaborative thing. If you were to have another feature on your record, like a dream record, who would you want to have on as a feature?
I would go with Shane Told from Silverstein. I've always loved Silverstein's discography from the early years to Beautiful Place to Drown to the latest single. I think he's got a great voice, and I think their style is something I really pick from and really pull from. So both him and his entire band have been like big influences on me. So to collaborate with him and get his vocals on a Cohill track would be absolutely unreal. Like I said, the next song is very Silverstein-esque, and you'll hear that right away from the opening hits. Like you'll be like, oh man, this could have been like a Discovering the Waterfront type song.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, if he could have sung on that song, that would have been unreal. But got a great guy on that one, and I know people are gonna love what he did with it.
There we go. Well, guys, if you want to hear Shane Told on a Cohill track, what you have to do is you have to open your phone up, or you have to go on the computer and you type in twitter.com, and then you tag Cohill on Twitter, and you also tag Silverstein because, you know, listen, we want our boy Doug to be like super stoked on this. So you tag both of them, you type in collab ? Listen, I feel like that's written in stone already. You know, Shane's already in the booth now working on it. So if you want to make this a reality, I'm pretty sure Doug would endlessly love you. So make it happen.
Yeah, the funny piece is, so the producer who did the EP with me, Kyle Marchant, he actually he was an engineer on 2 of the Silverstein records. And so he did what's the Dead Reflection. So he has some engineering credits on that one, and they're one of the Reduxes. And so I was joking with him one day, like when we were trying to find singers, I'm like, man, what do you think it would like cost to get Shane on a track? And he's like, man, I'm not even asking him for you. But who knows? I think this first track's doing well stream wise, so maybe it'll catch his attention, and he might be open to it. So who knows?
Listen, Doug, if you don't manifest it, you know, it can't be out there. So Shane, I know you watch my content. Listen, I know you're an avid supporter of what I do. I appreciate you. So listen, if you could do one favor for me and just work with Cohill, listen, you'd make my life. Okay. So I'd be super stoked for that.
There it is, out in the world.
There we go, out in the world. The next question, Doug, you obviously did the guitar playing on Cohill, but if there was another musical instrument you could master, what would it be?
Drums.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, drums are one I'd love to play. I feel like I do a lot of leg drumming, and I feel like, man, if I feel like I've got good beat, good rhythm. I'm like, man, if I just applied this to an actual kit, learn some of the fundamentals, the rudimentaries, like I felt like I could have been a good drummer. And drummers are always something that's in demand, in short supply there. And like everyone, like I've got a lot of band friends in my network on Facebook, and the number one thing I always see in my feed is, hey, anyone know a drummer? Need a drummer for this? And like, so yeah, drums would be one. And if not that, probably piano. I think piano is a fantastic instrument and great skill. So yeah.
I feel that. I like the reason why I feel like it's so funny that I get every time I get a guitarist on, they say drums. I don't know if it's just me, but like I have no hand-feet coordination. So like I don't feel like I could get what my feet were doing, or like vice versa. So like I feel like I'll never truly reach that like tier. But like it's funny because like every drummer is like, oh, I'll play guitar, and like they play guitar super well. So it's really frustrating. So I don't know how. Is it something in the brain? I don't get it, you know?
Yeah, that hand-foot coordination, especially once you start to get into like metalcore and like certainly like jazz and like R&B
Oh,
type drumming, like getting super in the pocket. That stuff is next level. And then like double kicks, blast beats, like I'll try and like hear out drum parts in my head. I'll be like, da, da, da. Like when I'm driving the car, I'm like, man, like how does he know where to hit? Like I know a lot of it becomes muscle memory for them after a point, but I mean, you still got to get there. You still got to practice and know where those toms are, that snare is. But it's they think on a different level, that's for sure.
yeah, I would say I'm a mean air drummer. Like if you see me in the car just driving, I'm going at it, you know. But
Yeah, same.
could not go at it in the studio. I feel like my skills as an air drummer would not translate to an actual drum kit. um,
So
but
a part of me wants to like there's a few parts of me that I'm like, man, I think I've got some good air drumming. Like just put me behind a kit. Like I think I could like I could probably make it through a standard rock song, like do a
yeah,
few fills here and there, but like anything beyond that, probably not.
yeah, I feel like it's just like I don't know. You got every drummer out there salutes to you because I don't know how you do it. But the next question, Doug, is a fun one. I don't know how big of a nerd you are, but I love asking this question. If you could be a video game character, who would you be?
Oh, probably Link from Legend of Zelda, specifically Ocarina of Time. I feel like that was probably like as a kid, that was probably one of the first storylines like I really got into,
Yeah,
really immersed myself with. So like as a 90s kid, that's one that always I think sticks close to every 90s kid's heart. And so I feel like every game after that like has never really resonated as well with me. So if I had to stick to one, that would probably be it.
I feel that. I feel that certainly because I still have my 64 that I had when I was a kid. So like, that's such a fantastic game. But I love the franchise in general. I think they really haven't missed. I could like listen. I feel like people are gonna come after me because like they're gonna be like, no, this game sucked. I don't listen.
Here
I
come the
love it all.
gatekeepers.
Here comes the gatekeepers, the keyboard warriors. I'm expecting somebody to just cancel me now, right on the spot. But like I think they just have a fantastic series of just games and like I love them. I'm really biased. I'm like a huge Nintendo fan, so like
Okay, yeah.
I am just completely biased and all that sort of stuff. But I like if I didn't love Nintendo as much as I did, I still think that the story like they got some really great games too. But
Oh yeah, for sure. Like I became more of like a PlayStation guy, and like as
gotcha.
I kind of got older, but like there's something about that era of video games, how they pioneered like consoles and stuff and storylining, and I think Ocarina of Time will always go down as like one of the greatest.
I would agree. Yeah, 100%. I every time I go back, I'm like, man, this is so great. And then I'm like, when are they gonna port it to the Switch? Because that's what's gonna happen
Yeah,
next.
when are they going to remaster that? That's when like I'm surprised. Like you're seeing a lot of remastering happening right now. Like Tony Hawk, just that's when I
Yeah,
bought. I bought the new Tony Hawk 1 and 2, and it's like again a whole resurgence of nostalgia, whether it's video games, music, movies. So
yeah.
I'm like, this Ocarina of Time, that's just going to be a money pit when they want to go after that one. So I'm surprised they haven't.
I think they'll do it this year. It's their 35th, so I feel like if
Oh,
there's
okay.
any time to do it, I think it's gonna be at this point. So fingers crossed, man. I'm hoping. I'm really hoping that they do something with it. But the next question, Doug, getting back to the music stuff, if you were to compile a dream tour lineup, who would be on it? Obviously, Cohill's on it, just in case weren't
We'd
aware.
probably be we'd probably be the bottom bill.
I don't know, man. You that's your tour. That's
Yeah.
where you pick.
That's my tour, man. So you can go about this one of a few ways. Do I pick bands that I've never seen before and would be able to see them live now, or do I go the route of like fan favorites and staples that I love day in day out? Man, I would probably go. I would love to see Bring Me the Horizon,
Ooh.
Under Oath, probably If I Die First.
Ooh, this is
How many slots do I have?
I'll give
How big is
you.
this tour? Is it a festival or is this a stadium tour? Or is it a club tour? Obviously, if I pick Bring Me the Horizon, it's
I think
at
it's
least an
probably. I
amphitheater
think it's
tour.
gonna definitely be like either a large club or a stadium. I'd probably say give me two more bands, and then we'll call it a cap it off.
Two more bands. I just had one and I lost it. Oh, probably I put Rage Against this doesn't fit the billing at all, but I'm going to say Rage Against the Machine because I was supposed to see them last summer, and
Oh,
it's now 2 years delayed tour. So would love just waiting to see that band. I feel like they could headline over Bring Me the Horizon. That
I
would be
feel
a filthy package.
yeah.
And maybe see you Space Cowboy. Yeah, I think it's an odd billing, but bands I want to see.
That sounds heavy. I love that. Sounds good. I feel like Rage would be like, we'd be down with this. They're heavy. I feel like they're on the heavier side. You know, I feel like they'd be okay with that.
Yeah, like Zach when he goes off, it's essentially screaming. Like when
Yeah.
he gets going live, like it's that rap scream. Depending on how hard he pushes it, it's trading right off into that zone.
There we go, guys. So if you want to see this sick lineup and insert year here, then you can definitely make it happen by hopping on Twitter. I'm not going to tell you how because I've already explained it earlier, but if you want the same sort of lineup, all that sort of stuff, you want to make it happen, you want to make Doug's day, listen, that's all I'm telling you. Manifest. Let's do it, guys. We can do it. But next question, Doug. Favorite TV show, favorite movie?
Favorite TV show, favorite movie. I'm gonna be a little basic with this one, but Office is
Ooh.
a huge one. And if I was going a little less basic, I'd probably go. It's just a little less, but like Brooklyn Nine-Nine
Oh, I
is a
love that
huge
show.
one,
Oh,
and Big Mouth. I've been a huge fan of. Favorite movie. Man, this is a tough one. I should have done some research beforehand, like
you could
getting
have.
got all my favorites on a list that I had ready to go right off the bat. I'm gonna go School of Rock.
Oh, yes.
I think Jack Black's performance in School of Rock, I think it rivals anything out there.
I would agree.
I,
He's a national treasure. Every time I watch that movie and Tenacious D, I'm just like, oh man, this man can act.
yeah, I could watch School of Rock all day, every day. Like he's unreal. He's just so lively and such a character, and his like passion for music just really comes alive and comes out in there.
Yeah, I just found out recently that I think it's Spider, the guy that like has.
Yeah, I
He's
saw that meme.
he's like a jury, like a judge court something in Texas.
Assistant district attorney or something like that. Yeah, in one of the southern states. I
So
saw that meme coming out.
it's so strange. So I went to go look it up, and it's real. It's not like
Is it real? I was
It's
about to say,
It's
like,
not faked. It's so weird.
that was when I was like, man, I have to fact check this before I start like spreading this fact around, because that totally could have been like one of those things. You're like, oh, I believe that, and you start telling your friends, and then a year later, you're like, oh man, I was just lying to them. Like I didn't look that up at all.
That's what I thought. So I like sent it to my girlfriend because she's a big like school. I'm as well as a big School of Rock fan, and so I sent it to her. I was like, "Did you see this?" And she was like, "No." So we both fact checked it at the same time, and they're like, "This is so weird. It's real." And I'm just like, "Yeah, I know. I can't believe it." So it is real for those
Yeah,
who
I'm
are
always
wondering.
very skeptical of those internet videos and memes that pass off some facts and stats. I'm always like, I don't know.
Always believe what you see on the internet, but in this case specifically, it is true.
This one checks. This one checks
This one
out.
checks out. We did the fact check. But the next question, Doug, if you were trapped on a desert island for the next month and there was one album you could bring with you to listen to, what would it be?
Ooh, one album to listen to. I would probably go with Discovering the Waterfront. I think
Ooh,
that's one of my favorites. Something I can listen to front and back, pretty much day in, day out. And again, that goes. I've mentioned Silverstein and their influences throughout many of these questions. So I think it holds true that they'd be a band I could listen to nonstop for a month as my only means of music.
well, listen, to cap off the Silverstein questions, I have to ask, how would you rank all of their records? Because I feel like they've had such a broad discography over the years, but I'm curious what your take is.
They do. You know what I'm going to need to do? I'm going to need to bring up the discography quickly. So
That is fine.
I don't miss anything.
I feel you.
Silverstein. Silverstein. So I'd probably go When Broken Is Easily Fixed as number one.
Oh, nice. Solid choice.
Discovering the Waterfront is 2.
Okay.
I'm gonna leave off the Reduxes because those are just greatest hits albums and don't count. I'd
I
go
agree.
Dead Reflection as 3.
Wow. All right.
I
Okay.
really liked that album. I thought that album was super sick. Probably I Am Alive and Everything I Touch is 4. Then This Is How the Wind Shifts, uh, Shipwreck in the Sand, and then Arrivals and Departures. I know some people will probably disagree with that ranking, but I
Yeah.
think I got into Silverstein a little later than most people my age. And so I think I started discovering them when I first got into Silverstein on the This Is How the Wind Shifts album. So
Oh.
I got into their I guess more recent discography first. So I don't have some of that same nostalgic kick that I think other people my age do with some of those earlier
Sure. Yeah.
albums, which I think skews my ranking versus like a typical Silverstein fan.
It's
But
good.
yeah,
I listen.
a
I
little
listen.
different.
I respect that because that takes some balls, first of all, and secondly, I also think that it's just like everybody comes in and a band's like again, Silverstein has been a band for such a long time, so I can't
Hmm.
expect everybody to come in at the same period of time that I've come in at. But I would probably put Shipwreck in the Sands as one of my favorites, probably easily top 3 of Silverstein records. But again, I know not everybody's gonna think that. A lot of people think that Discovering Waterfront's better or like Arrivals and Departures better. But like, listen, that's why we all have opinions. We all have our choices. Don't be dug up in the comments. That's his choices. You have your Silverstein choices, and we gotta respect that. So, but the next thing, Doug, I'm very curious to ask you this since this band is more of a collaborative effort. How do you go about the process of like writing lyrics? Does the person who is featuring on the record do a lot of the lyric writing? Is it like, are you involved with it? I'm just curious how that process kind of shakes out because, this is the first time that I've ever had somebody on that has done like all vocalist collaborations. So I'm curious how that perspective or how it works.
Yeah, so all the lyrics are completely done by the vocalist that I found for each track.
Very cool.
They sent me the lyrics. I had a few thoughts like, oh, maybe fix this word, or when they sent me the demo, I'm like, oh, this part doesn't flow as good as it could. So I really just gave them some critique and feedback on what they brought me. There was very minimal influence from my aspect, and which I kind of wanted, because I'm a big believer that when someone writes the lyrics, the performance in the recording comes out that much better, comes out that
Yeah.
much more authentic. So that was a big piece for me, is that when I found a vocalist, that they were going to be the one writing the lyrics. I'm not much of a lyric writer, so like I wouldn't have been able to help them anyways. But like, yeah, I reached out to a few people and they're like, I'll do it, but I don't want to write the lyrics. And to me, that was like a big, like, no, like I want someone to like come in with a very convicted performance. Like that was huge for me. So Hayden's tracks he actually had those lyrics kind of sitting already
Oh wow. Okay.
beforehand. Yeah. It's just kind of like stuff he penned down in a notebook, to my understanding, with conversing with them. And he never really found a home with them with Tiger Wine or anything else he did. And he's like, it just clicked for this song. He's like, it was the right fit. And so I thought that was really cool that he gave me something that was very close and personal to him,
Yeah.
from a performance and a writing standpoint, because it was quite a personal story of his that he used on the lyrics.
No, and I love the fact that they put their own stamp of themselves onto
Hmm.
the track too. Like I think to me that's what speaks to me about like your project in general and why I was kind of like, oh, this is a really cool like collaborative effort, like not only like scene to scene kind of a thing, but also like from the aspect of like, oh, okay, so we have a vocalist on here where you like want him to be like featured, obviously, and like it's just a really cool aspect that I don't feel like a lot of bands, particularly in the scene, do. I don't know if it's necessarily just because like everybody's doing their own thing, but like I love when bands have like a really good feature on it, or like
Hmm.
what I've been noticing recently is like bands like as of most recently like Silent Planet and Fit for a King did like swap tracks where they both
Yeah, they do
swapped out vocals,
covers. Hmm.
and
And then
I thought that was
they did
really
that with We Came as Romans
We
too.
Came as
The
Romans,
Hitler
yeah.
King swapped with We Came as Romans as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think part of what lent itself to being able to happen is unfortunately COVID. So in a lot of scenarios, some of the bands that I collaborate or with vocalists would be on tour most of the time throughout the year, and
Yeah.
probably would not be able to. And then in their downtime, they'd be wanting to write for their band. So I think I really kind of, this project only existed because of the circumstances that we are in. People were, well, I'm not touring. Either we're already sitting on material, or we're not able to write material. And
Mm-hmm.
along comes Doug sliding into the DMs, and they're like, "Yeah, you know what? I'm down
Why
to write a
not?
song. Like, I've got nothing else going on. Like he seems like he knows what he wants to do, and he's going to do it right." So I think the environment was kind of right. The way I kind of like described it to people, and like I'll call it my pitch, was kind of like a scene version of DJ Khaled in a way.
Yeah,
Like
no, I would agree. Yeah.
like he brings the track. Like I still don't understand if he actually makes the track, or
I don't
if
think
he's just. I don't think he does. I think
I don't think he
people
does.
make a beat and he finds someone for the beat, and then he says his name over it.
Which would be
But
great.
I actually wrote the songs, and in the emails I'd send people, I'm like, it's kind of like a scene version of DJ Khaled, except I'm not just going to shut my name on the track. So I think it's kind of like, yeah, like you said, I love when bands collab together, and to call them a feature is kind of almost like belittling what they did, because it's more than just like your typical 8-bar feature or 16-bar bridge type thing. It's like it's a collab with just the vocalist, and no, I think what we've got is pretty unique, pretty special, and my hope is to really put out like this volume, and then be able to like keep doing it, and whether it's another single later on, or a 3-track EP, or a 2-track type thing, just kind of keep it going once everything dies down. Now that like the streams are coming in, I think it's going to be in a place where people are going to be like, yeah, I'd love to get on a track with this thing. I think the talent's there, just like cool by association type thing.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. I didn't want to belittle the feature. Just in my head,
No,
that's what made the most sense.
yeah, for sure. No, I call it features too, and I'm always like, there has to be like
A better word.
a better word for it, because they're not just featured. They're like, they are like the track as well. Like there's much a part of it as like the instruments and stuff, and they wrote it, they put thought into it, they put emotion into it. So it's like I'm still searching for that word to call it. So yeah, it's still need to find the right one.
There we go. And the second to last thing I have to ask Doug, I don't typically like asking this question, but I'm curious where the name Cohill came from. I'm pretty sure you get asked this, I'm sure, so you might as well just, put the nail in the coffin now and tell everybody where.
Yeah, so it's actually my street name. So
is it really? Oh my God!
Yeah, so I live on Coe Hill Drive, and it's where I've been quarantined this entire time on Coe Hill.
Great.
So it's kind of fitting into the theme of like quarantine, like what the project was about, where I've been stuck this entire time has been on my street. But yeah, it was when I was kind of like tossing names back and forth to people, like it was one that everyone was kind of like, well, what's that name mean? I'm like, it's the street I live on. And everyone's like, I'd go with that one. So I had some sounding boards when I came up with it, but yeah, it's where I live.
There we go. Awesome. And the last thing, Doug, I asked this of everyone, is time for you to pitch. Tell the people where they can find you at, what you have coming up, anything else you'd like to plug, talk about, things of that nature.
Yeah, so you can find me on social media. My handles are typically at Cohill or at Cohill Music. If you don't see anything music related, either add music or take off music to find me. Check me out on Spotify, Apple Music, wherever you get your music. Obviously, we got more music coming up. Dates are TBD, so either check out on Facebook, Instagram to stay updated. Just kind of waiting for the mixes and masters to come in before setting the final schedule.
Very cool.
Yeah, and kind of just going to plug the team. Check out Kyle Marchant as a potential producer. Check out Tyler Rule as for mastering. He also does mixing and producing out in California, Black 8 Records. Yeah, those are kind of the big parties. Terrence Pettit, who did drums, both him and Kyle play in a band called Nightwell, so check them out. They were both big parts in making this, so I got to plug their band and plug their music as well.
There we go. I'm pretty sure Tyler is the one who sent me it, so I'll give a shout out to him. But Blackgate Records, he sent me the email.
Blackgate Records, yeah.
So shout outs to them. Very cool. Thanks for the hookup. Also, thanks to Mike again, the Northern. Love those guys.
Yes, Mike, check out the Northern. I think they got a new song coming out as well this Friday. So I don't know when I don't know when you're dropping this. So this might already be out.
It's already out already, but it's great.
Yeah,
go check it out. You already know it's good. The Northern, we always trying to spread that love here, but go check out Cohill. Listen, I think this is one of the coolest things to happen this year, and there's been a lot of great bands to come out, but obviously Doug's on here. I'm not trying to pump Doug up, but I am trying to pump Doug up because I am the internet hype man here. Please go check out Cohill. I think it's one of the coolest collaboration, feature things that we'll figure out a word to call it, but it's one of the coolest things that happened this year. If you haven't checked it out yet, stop sleeping under a rock. There's a link in the description. Check out the newest single. Please go listen to it. It's awesome. Also go check out Tiger Wine. Great band too. But very excited to hear the other collabs, to figure out who's collabing. Maybe it's somebody I know, maybe it's not, but either way, it's going to be very cool, and you should definitely go support Doug's project. I'll leave all the links in the description where you can find out about Cohill, music, things of that nature. Go check it out, and if you enjoyed this interview, share, like, and subscribe. It goes a long way. I always feel like I'm just that atypical YouTuber that asks for it all the time, but if I don't ask for it, people aren't going to subscribe, so please do it. It would be greatly appreciated, and if you want to hear Cohill collaborate with Silverstein, I already explained it to you earlier, but you should definitely go do it, because I'm sure it would not only make my dreams a reality, but I'm almost positive Doug would be very happy about that. So
very happy.
If you want to make Doug happy, which is what we want here on Audio Addiction, go do it. And huge thanks to Doug of Cohill for coming on tonight.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. It means a lot for you to take the time to host me and plug the music and everyone else who's shared along the way in this interview. So thanks again.